I'm Cigar Box Scott, and in real life, I'm Scott Atkinson. I live near Dayton, Ohio, in a little town called Troy, Ohio, and I play folk music, but I play it in a different way than everybody else. I mix blues, bluegrass, old-time country, and folk, and then I redo traditional songs in a new way.
Have you grown up there?
No, I grew up out east near Philadelphia.
Okay.
Moved to Ohio maybe 15, 16 years ago for work.
Okay.
I got back into the music scene maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I joined a band. We're called the Barnharts, and I play steel guitar in the band. And then maybe...
Like lap steel?
Pedal steel. Yeah, no, I lied.
Yeah.
You're
okay.
correct.
Okay.
Should we redo that?
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. I'll keep my at this point, some of my interjections you'll hear in there.
No, you're right. So anyway, a couple of years ago, I joined this band called the Barnharts, and I play lap steel in the band. And then maybe 3 years ago, a friend of mine gave me a cigar box guitar. A friend of his made it and traded it to him for some work that my friend did for him. And my friend was like, "I'm never going to play this thing." He's like, "But I know somebody who might play it." So he gave it to me.
Nice.
And it completely changed how I play music. I've been playing traditional folk music my whole life. Well, since I started playing guitar at 16. But I always play it differently or wrong than everybody else. And so this thing lets me play it the way I like. When I used to play 6-string, everybody said I was playing it wrong. But now that I play this, it's innovative.
Nice.
So it's really fun. So anyway, I've been playing the Dayton scene solo now. This is really like my second full year of doing it. But I've been playing around in the band in that scene for 4 or 5 years.
Excellent.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities to play. There are a lot of bars and wineries and breweries that have music. There's a lot of it that is what I would call like the classic rock scene or the top 40 where they want you to play hits and covers, and that's fine. But there are also plenty of places that will have bands that play original music. There's a huge open mic scene, like it's almost too many. Every night of the week, there's probably 5 to 6 within like a 25-minute drive. Open mics going, which is great. And there are definitely the places that cater to what I would say more independent music, less top 40 cover kind of stuff. And there's a lot of places that'll do that. And I find them pretty open to trying new bands and new people, which is cool.
Nice.
I'd also say another positive is that the scene's pretty collaborative. If you go to a show to see somebody, you will see other artists from the scene there, especially if you're in Dayton, like downtown. There's a fair number of people who go around and support each other. No, I think every scene probably has that, where people in bars, they want to hear songs they know, and that's cool. And there was a time in my life where I was like what do you call it? There was a time in my life where I was the snob.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that top 40 cover song or that cover song. You know what? It's a great song. And people are allowed to like music that they like. And so everyone, I slip in a couple of covers here and there because they're fun.
That's what you're there to entertain.
The other thing too, I like, if you ever go to see a show, I like it when I see like a big artist do a cover song because I like to know what kind of music they like.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
That's cool.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
There's some really good online guides, I would say. There are several guys who run open mics who also run these open mic groups, like networking groups on Facebook. And every week they publish all the open mics in the Dayton scene what times they are, and what you have to do. Like if you have to sign up ahead of time or go there. And they do a really good job. And they tell when there's new ones or ones that are closed or ones that are whatever. And they've been really helpful. And every time I go to one, somebody else will tell you where else you should go.
Nice.
So I think that's cool. And there's a couple of guys who've done some really cool things. There used to be a folk music club in Dayton called the Canal Street Tavern. It was independently run, and it closed like a couple of years after I moved there. But the people who used to hang out there have like gone other places. There's this one guy, his stage name is Windsor Knots. And there's this place in Dayton called the Yellow Cab Tavern, which used to be a cab company. But they're kind of like this. They have an art space, they have a bar, and then they have this little music room tucked away. So they have the big stage in the bar, and then they have this little music room where there's a showcase held every Thursday. And this guy lets independent, acoustic, whatever come in, and he makes it a listening room. You got to go in, you got to shut up and listen to people play music. So Windsor has done a lot to foster the scene. He's always looking for songwriters, and so there's your long-winded answer.
Okay, no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's all I give.
No, that's what I'm looking for. I feel like there's the websites that.
Oh yeah.
What are those called?
So they are Facebook groups, and they're called like Dayton Open Mic Networking.
Okay.
There's another guy who does one. His name is Nathan Jenkins, and he's been very helpful. He does one called Nathan Jenkins Open Mic Networking Group. I also found one in Cincinnati. So my guess is if you're going to a market, look these groups up. You will find them. Also, I found that Dayton has like maybe 3 or 4 Facebook groups that are just like Dayton, Ohio music scene Dayton, whatever. And I've found them in all these other markets that I'm playing at. So I've joined them all. I've joined the Northeast Ohio one, the Northwest, the Central, so that when I'm playing gigs in those areas, I'm posting. Or you can say, hey, I got an open night. Does anybody have something?
Right. Okay. No, that's awesome.
And sometimes those things work.
Yeah. A lot of times it feels like it's a void, but when it does work, you're like, people heard.
That's right. In fact, there's a guy in the Columbus area. He started this thing called COMA.
Okay.
COMA.
Okay.
Central Ohio Music Association or Musicians Association. And he runs jams at bars.
Okay.
And then he has a featured artist.
Okay.
So I did it one night. I played for like an hour, then we had a jam, and then I played for another hour. And so he's bringing musicians into these bars.
Right.
You know, they come, they buy dinner, they drink a beer, and they get to jam, and they get to play with the headliner.
Right.
I would definitely recommend this one I mentioned before, which is the Yellow Cab Tavern. They have both small groups and they have regional touring acts and sometimes national, but it's all independent. And they have all different kinds of music, you name it, from punk to Americana to folk to rock, whatever, reggae. They're a great place. Another place is called the Bright Side. They also host the Dayton Battle of the Bands, which is a 6-week-long battle because every week is a different genre. The band I play in, the Barnharts, we played last year in the Battle of the Bands. And so anyway, so the Bright Side not only does that, but they host regional touring acts, and then they will use local artists to like support them by like opening for them. So the Bright Side is a good place. Another place, which is a little south of Dayton, called Jane's on Main. I've played there a few times. They're like a wine bar that does definitely acoustic and sort of independent original music. Dayton and Cincinnati,
right,
is definitely a cool place that will support independent artists doing original music. So the town that I live in, called Troy, has some interesting opportunities as well. They host a Porch Fest, which definitely supports original music. Dayton does a Porch Fest as well, which is a pretty big deal in the area. And then there's a cultural center in the town I live in, Troy, called Hainer Cultural Center. And they have touring acts of all kinds of music. Chamber music, blues, jazz, orchestral. And they support it through the Cultural Center Fund. So that's a good place as well. And then in Dayton, there's a couple other places I'd recommend. The Barrel House and the Parkside Tavern also support independent original music. That's one that's a little bit harder for me to sort of tell you. So, I mean, each of those venues has contacts, and
Right.
almost, from what I can tell, most of them are booked by
Via
the
the contact.
venues themselves.
Yeah.
There's a thing called Sound Valley Music in Dayton, which does some events. The Bright Side works with a group called, I think it's Venus Child Productions,
Okay.
and they book things around. And then there might be one other. If I can think of it, I'll let you know. House concerts that I know of. I'm sure there are. There are a couple of showcases though that I think are pretty cool. The one I had mentioned previously at Yellow Cab Tavern is really good. There's a really fun one at the American Slovak Club. Okay, so that is what you'd think it is. It's like an Elks Club or a Moose Club. It's it's a social club. Yeah. But the first Sunday or third Sunday of the month, they open up to the public, and it's this like tiny little place. Kind of has the ambiance of a bowling alley, and the people love it. It was like one of the coolest showcases I'd ever been to. We spent the entire Sunday afternoon, all these independent musicians, and the people there from the club, they loved it. It was super fun. It was a great place. There's also a place called Vagabond Studio just outside of Dayton that will do shows on Sundays and other times of the year, and they're similar where they're a gallery and a studio space and a recording space. So Antioch College, which is in Yellow Springs, which is south of Dayton, has what's called WYSO, which is our local NPR station, but it is mostly music. They do NPR news shows during daytime hours, but they do things like the World Cafe in the afternoons, and then they have local programming all weekend long and every weekday night. And they have one show for sure that features local music every week. And what I've found is that the music director there, her name is Juliet Frumholt, very supportive of the local scene. See her all over the place. You can contact them directly, and they do interviews with artists. So it's a great. They also promote a lot of shows in the area, so definitely a cool radio station. WYSO. Yes, so I will look this up, and I could not find it, but so Dayton's called the Gem City. And there's a guy out there. His handle is the Gem City Dudist Priest, as in the Big Lebowski. Yes. And he runs a Dayton scene podcast. Okay. And I, for the life of me, I cannot remember what it's called. But he will interview musicians, artists, local independent business owners, and promotes them throughout TikTok, YouTube. His name is Arch, ARCH. One super supportive guy, really gets into it. He's a mandolin player himself, loves music, and he does really neat things in the Dayton scene. Yeah, there is one place. Sound Valley is a guy who helps musicians market themselves and independent businesses in the Dayton area. In fact, they used to run a music festival, but they definitely will help cover the area. The Bright Side and Venus Child Productions, they post a lot about other shows going on in the area. But definitely the social media groups are the ones that I've found that are the most helpful. If you go to Dayton Music Scene on Facebook or Dayton Ohio Music, you will find plenty of resources to not only see what's going on, but I use it as a way to find places that are booking music, and then I reach out to them. Beautiful. Yeah, so there are Porch Fests in several areas in Dayton. So Dayton has one, and some of the outlying towns like my town, Troy, they have Porch Fests, and they will book people out of the area and local. Dayton itself has a Levitt Pavilion, which if you're familiar with that, it's a series of amphitheaters across the country that provide free music throughout the summer. And they will have local acts open up for national acts. And then Dayton also has a thing called Riverscape, which is part of the Metro Parks. And they have concerts there throughout the summer as well. And then a lot of the small towns, including mine, have these little plazas like in the town square. And most nights in the weekend nights, so every Friday night in my town in the summertime, they have a band. And often they're local or regional, or if they have a bigger act, they have someone local open for them. So there's definitely stuff to find.
yeah, excellent, excellent.
There's some really cool artists in the Dayton scene. One band that we really like is Heather Redman. She's an amazing vocalist. She has an awesome band that backs her up. Every time I see her at festivals or at local bars, I'm always really impressed. And she tours throughout Ohio as well, but she's based in Dayton. She's a great player. She also plays with a guy named David Payne. And he actually just released a classic country album, which is pretty cool. So they're great. I'm trying to think of who else in the area. Man, there's so many good people. I will tell you, there's a guy who I really like. He doesn't play he doesn't play original music. His name's David Thornton, but he plays throughout the area. He's an amazing guitar player. He hosts an open mic at this place called Jane's on Main, and it's one of the most welcoming environments I've found. Just super nice guy, very supportive. He also books music at certain places and has been really supportive in the area. Dayton has a cool music scene. One of the guys I play with in my band is in another band called the Shady Pine, and they are a bluegrass band, if you couldn't tell by their name. But they're a lot of fun as well.